like a bitter pill. You blow my mind, you make my heart beat. The king's a clown, no one is laughing, it's not a drill. Don't look outside, the world is ending. Faster, 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 fast. The echoes of that news ring loud. The echoes, no sound can ever drown it out. It breaks my heart into a million pieces. Oh, it breaks my heart into a million pieces. If it's gonna break me, won't you let me go? Leave it till the morning, I don't wanna know. Breaks my heart into a million pieces. A million pieces. A million pieces.
2019, the year of the clown. Clowns on TV, clowns in the news, clowns at the movies especially, but the ultimate clown prince of crime? No, the clown fool of rhyme was me. Worst year on the record to date. But I was comforted by cinema. Loud, proud, infuriating, beautiful cinema. 118 new 2019 releases. Yeah, maybe I fished at the bottom of the barrel a couple of times, but we got there in the end. This is the beefy list, filled with superheroes, clowns, dads, and class disparity. But every year, with a steadily increasing number of films under my belt, it makes me realise I won't just be talking about 10 movies, will I? Every year, the title becomes more and more meaningless. Every year, I just add more and more movies, more and more work for myself. So this year, we're bringing everything. Every notable movie I want to pitch in on. Why put rules and restrictions on my own fun? Plus for you, hey, more video, more ace film recommendations. It's win-win, but this video will be a feature-length movie in of itself. Oh look, my little dog's here. Hello, Dusty. Oh, cool. Thanks, Dusty. See you later. For the record, my dog's favourite film of the year was A Dog's Purpose, which was another one of those weird Buddhist reincarnation dog movies where the dog talks and thinks about divorce settlements and cancer treatment. Weird films, profound little dog. And now we've dropped all the pretense, let's drop a dope video. I've planned this for a year. Alita! Immersive Rodriguez world of bonkers lore, or just the outlier of a slow Easter at the movies. Thankfully, I've rewatched it, and it's not the latter. It's amazing how much style and personality could be snuck into a giant blockbuster like this. It's more like Lord of the Rings or Raimi Spider-Man. I love the inviting attention to detail on this. It's safe to say Cyberpunk is back on top. And little Christoph Waltz carrying that giant Reinhardt rocket hammer, spouting off about the Hunter-Killer Wars and Panzerkunst, and it's just wonderful. Spy Kids 3D vibes all over this thing. Detective Pikachu. Now this is what I want from an IP. A genuinely gutsy and strange direction for a franchise film. It's a Roger Rabbit detective noir, set in a beautiful fantasy London setting. I would live here. The technology has also caught up to the Pocket Monsters. They look great. Pikachu is probably the greatest visual effect I've seen this side of the decade. It goes Smog, Pikachu, Thanos, Richard Parker. One of the big blockbusters I was looking for that not only delivered, but also had no controversy surrounding it. So refreshing. And what's to hate? Ryan Reynolds sings the Pokemon theme song. They kill a Mr. Mime. Bill Nye with Totodiles. Just more of this, please? It's the biggest property on the planet. You should probably put it to use sometime. Instant Family. Millennial, blunt, self-deprecating, self-aware comedy about the hardships of adoption. And it's pretty brutal and honest about everything that goes into that decision. Nothing in this film is buttered up. And I always love it when a feckless comedy that nobody takes notice of actually turns out to be a hidden gem. But no matter how real-world dramatic or blunt it gets, it hasn't dissuaded me in the least. Dig this one out. Beautiful boy. Wow, this film made me feel like a beautiful burden, and I've never actually touched crystal meth. Maybe this just came at a bad time, but see a mind-eating illness cripple a family, and really just test the limits of love in a way that no other situation in life can. Just felt right. You don't need anything more than that. Please refer to my video on the subject for guidance, but Sad Steve is the best Steve. Marriage Story. The more I think about Marriage Story, the more I like it, and I have been thinking about it a lot. Want to watch 2 hours of distilled real-world trapped misery? Turns out it's infectious when real emotions are carried out by fantastic actors in actual movies. Who knew? Yeah, this movie was doing the Twitter rounds, so swerve that discourse and you can go into an amazingly acted, detailed and morally ambiguous film that's clearly inspired by real intimacy with the experience of divorce. You see, people used to watch movie scenes in context with other movie scenes, and we'd call it a film. It's also like the 5th most powerful moment in the movie. Most of all, I wish Mum and Driver Dad would stop arguing all the time. I just want to play with my Bionicle. Someone great. Such a warm, happy film about very lost, sad women. Oh hey, can rom-coms just be this good from now on, please? Honest and self-reflective? I imagine I'll be watching this a lot in my 30s. Knives Out. A murder mystery that plays by all the rules. Every trope is there. The maid did it. The real murderer returns to the scene of the crime. The entire setup is a massive red herring. Plays fair, but always one step ahead of you narratively. Rian Johnson is quickly proving himself as one of this decade's defining directors, and I hope he inverts every subgenre ever, because this is simply one of the smartest films of the decade. It's only as low as it is for me because I'm always burned out by detective stories. Daniel Craig's Texan accent is bliss. I love that he's playing a compelling cartoon character, but I'm not sure any actor can actually pull off that final killer revealed speech in a way that feels new. There's only so many steps you can take with that moment until you lose me, until I run out of jigsaw puzzle pieces. And sometimes when mysteries show they're working, I don't think it's as clever as it sounds. It begs a rewatch, but I have to ascertain if it sticks its own landing. What this film does excel at is its thematic structure. My god. To tell you what the film's about would be giving the game away. But films with this message, keep them coming. Ad Astra? More like Brad Astra? More like Sad Astra! A film that descends more into metaphorical imagery than cold sci-fi narrative. The moment you realise the plot isn't even important is remarkable. After this movie I told my dad I love him. Lots of dad movies this year. Penguin Highway, the most innocent mystery adventure story that you realise is just picking up new genres along the way. Penguin Highway mostly makes me miss playing outside as a kid and captures the youthfulness of childhood curiosity. And much like the imagination of a lead, it's a film where any development can and might happen. Truly flexible and unpredictable. It also helps that the film is drop-dead gorgeous. And then there's little pengies everywhere. And before we go to the top 10, here's Erin with hers, who this year I convinced to get a letterbox and whose opinion I value more than my own.
Number 10, we got Ready or Not. And number 9, Klaus. It's such a fun retelling of Christmas. I've never seen Santa told like this before. It was really cool. Number 8, Marriage Story. Number 7, Beautiful Boy. Number 6, Instant Family. Number 5, Endgame. It was number 1, and I haven't rewatched it, but the more I think about it, the lower it keeps going down the list, but it's still in the top 10, so we'll see when I actually rewatch it. Zombieland Double Tap. It was mainly for the nostalgia. And Madison, peace. I live in a fridge. Number 3, Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 2, Someone Great. And number 1, I got my little Detective Pikachu boy. Oh my god, I've played the game and I loved this movie. It was just so accurate. And I guess the twist before the end. So yeah, it was all really cool. And that's my top 10. Back to Sam.
Woo! Hell yeah, Erin. Number 10, Paddleton. Not to bring the mood down, but this is the most soul-crushing sad movie I've seen this year, or maybe any other year. A dry, slick, awkward comedy about assisted suicide. This very slight, almost distraction of a Netflix oddity was barely featured on the homepage for all of 2 weeks. It is the exact type of movie I am worried about in the age of streaming, and it is exactly the scale of movie you should support. That said, as lovely and brotherly as it is, I never want to see it again in my life. Even in the assembling of clips for this video, I'm scared of coming across that ending. I don't want to watch it again. It's the most visceral and heartbreaking scene I've seen in a long, long time. Ray Romano and Mark Duplass play it perfectly, and I know it's meant to hurt, but it's just a hell of a gut punch that I'm definitely not quick to revisit. As pitch perfect a black comedy as it is. Dragon Ball Z? Super Broly was a pinnacle of animation, and I'm not a Dragon Ball fan. My only familiarity with the series is things it inspired, cultural osmosis, and the 3 new trilogy movies, of which I was bought Battle of Gods for Christmas one year, because hey, Sam likes anime. Luckily, it turns out, I do. Battle of Gods was such a humble approach to shonen by framing mind-blowing action and unthinkable stakes around a small-scale comedy skit, so even for a newcomer, I had a great time with it. But it was never memorable, end-of-the-year material. Broly very much is. Super Broly sets the stage with a series prequel, introducing the show to even a Namek noob like me. And what should be a standard Wikipedia entry, with me eventually going, oh, so he's just Superman, is just brought to life in front of me. This is simply just a great kooky sci-fi story that happens to take off the kiddie gloves once the punch kicking begins. High-octane, endless, perfectly staged, animation-style swapping, reality-breaking, Gurren Lagann upstaging action! This is simply just a peak in animation. The movie is centered around a battle, but it's the tragedy and the pointlessness of the fight that is paramount. This is a fight that shouldn't be happening, so the infinite stalemate on a level never before seen in this universe has such a refreshing motive. It's just such a side quest of a story. I loved seeing a disconnected character reacting, catching up to 30 years of Dragon Ball Z power-ups and abilities, and immediately level the playing field. There's something special you can do only when you're an established franchise who's been around for decades. And there's a part when we come to using the fusion ha that we're just using every trick in the book, scouring this fictional universe for any weapon at our disposal, out of pure desperation. I love that as a concept. It's something that another blockbuster failed at this year, and it makes the world just feel lived in. Intentional, exciting. You found the correct way to use nostalgia and lore to benefit your narrative. I'm shocked it's here, but when I'm such a sucker for boundary-breaking feats in animation, maybe I shouldn't be. Here's a scene where Broly and Goku break reality through sheer power. It Chapter 2 is absolutely a flawed movie. It's very repetitive, it does waste your time blatantly, and it's also not especially scary. Maybe this is why It Chapter 2 is not only my favourite horror film of the year, but some of the most fun I've ever had in the theatre. For some reason my friends got me to see it in 4DX. So essentially, I'm trapped on a 3-hour, moving seat, Universal Studios simulator, fairground haunted house ride. And actually, I didn't get sick of it one bit. It's a movie where I understand a lot of the criticisms, I really do, they just don't apply. It's too fun. It's so cool to see a horror movie being given the big blockbuster treatment, the ending of a saga. Right, dude, it's your second movie, adapting the least popular of Stephen King's works. Heightened funhouse visuals, tick. The Dreamcast of adults, tick. Visuals on par with, I can only say Doctor Strange, tick, tick, tick. It's the high concept fantasy of this one that really draws me out. There's hints of the clown's true potential in the first one, but in this one, the director told Pennywise he can go all out eating them kids. Pennywise is the ultimate movie monster. And for the whole runtime, the dancing clown has me right where he wants me, somewhere in between awe, fits of laughter, and genuine fear. Even now, I'm kind of floored that the spooky clown movie handled a depiction of a gay character with a lot of maturity and finesse. Richie's relationships are so really beautifully handled, and it's a great thematic addition, as yes, there are many legitimate reasons to flee one's hometown. That's a universal truth, and the stigmas that this film latches onto are so intelligent on another level to the first. And your verdict may actually be influenced on how much you yourself like your hometown. For all the locals out there, yeah, it's a spooky clown movie. There's no cosmic space turtles, but it's still a pretty damn fine conclusion to a great series, with satisfying closure. Something there wasn't a lot of this year. Shifting gears, knock down the house! In 2018, a young bartender in the Bronx, a coal miner's daughter in West Virginia, a grieving mother in Nevada, and a registered nurse in Missouri join a movement of insurgent candidates challenging powerful incumbents in Congress. This movie is about 4 women attempting the impossible, entering politics as a no-name with no corporate money. And our protagonist for this documentary is one Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's her journey into Congress and the women behind who also made the same sacrifices and the same efforts in a world with a stacked deck against them. And frankly, the ending is more empowering a finale than Endgame. It's not a clash of parties in this, but a clash of classes. Working class people taking on an establishment that's grown lazy and fat and taking back their communities as a result. And hopefully it doesn't stop there. Fantastic documentary. It's Webboy! Far From Home was easily the most fun I had in this year in a cinema seat, and this was the same year I saw Endgame in the most hyped IMAX screening possible. And whilst I did go and see that movie with my hype goggles on, it's this film where I actually felt the ramifications of that movie. And just a great bookend to everything in the MCU so far. I will genuinely struggle to give a shit beyond this point. Maybe another Spidey, maybe another Strange. Love these films, but I think I'm content. It's the final few moments of Webboy 2, I just found myself getting weepy-eyed. Just seeing Spider-Man so authentically being put to screen after all these years was bliss. Watts delivers a second pitch-perfect Peter Parker party. Party. And just like its predecessor, that's a merit to this movie. I don't see a MCU installment, I see a John Watts flick. I just see the Spider-Man. And I don't want to jinx it again, but we might just be on our way to a perfect trilogy. What should be a pretty insignificant summer movie after Endgame actually has a number of bests for the MCU in general. Best locations, best ship, best comedy out of all of the MCU, and by far best villain. Like, there's no competition. Yeah, Jakey went a bit crazy in this one. We spent a lot of this year fearful that Holland was stuck in divorce settlements for a lot of the year between... Well, you remember. How'd us go in there, Disney? But another one of these, and you can officially call this the greatest superhero trilogy ever. Top summer adventure. It doesn't really do anything with the whole post-truth angle they hint at, but that's fine. We have other movies to handle that. Such as The Great Hack and Brexit, the Uncivil War. This one's gonna be a big one, and I'll keep the political ranting to a minimum. You know all the great documentaries and all the good art you get once history deems a certain cultural turning points not a touchy subject anymore? Well, Brexit the Uncivil War decided to skip that period of grace. Striking while the iron is hot. The waters have not cooled, and I wouldn't want it any other way. As I've said in previous years, there are other movies that I trust to subtly explore more general ideas and themes, the bigger picture. There are also other films that I want and expect to be as loud, harsh, and blatant as possible. This isn't so after the fact, a history lesson in the future to reflect on. This just happened. And the bravery and veracity that Toby Haynes' Brexit the Uncivil War comes at the UK's Leave campaign is cutting-edge protest cinema. This seems like a hard one just to recommend though, and I do have questions, HBO. Like, is Cumberbatch in the main role suitable? Ethical? Is political strategist Dominic Cummings really deserving of the smartest man in the room Sherlock social network treatment? Almost definitely not, but at the same time I can hardly think of anyone else to help bring this name into infamy in the years ahead. The pain is fresh, the anger is a very new type of anger, and the biopic is still unfolding. Let it be screamed to the end of time. The EU referendum of 2016 was carried out unlawfully, and the world is in such a desperate scramble for the bottom that this counter-art has to be just as quick. I'm not remotely surprised that this film wound up being as divisive as the European Union referendum itself, but this snappy, bleak, and hopefully lasting film is some of Haynes' best work, and this is the man behind the best directed episodes of Doctor Who, Sherlock, and the director of BAFTA-winning Black Mirror episode U.S. Callister. I can't think of anyone better suited to give him the first word on this whole bloody affair. The thick of it has officially passed the point of comedy. No jokes required. 3 years of headlines play out in front of you. It's glorious and succinct and cathartic. It's awful, I hate it. It's terrifying, I love it. And The Great Hack, a documentary going straight for the jugular on Cambridge Analytica, data sharing, and post-truth paranoia. Fun game. Check out the reviews on IMDb. 1 out of 10, more liberal propaganda. But dude, everything shown here were interviews, first-hand confessions, a proud press presentation. These world-changing facts are not kept secret. They have been flaunted in our faces and openly bragged about. A refusal to engage with such universally relevant and loaded objective issues as this just tells me you don't like this one because it's not on your side. These aren't people who disagree with you on dramatic music or staging. It's people who know about the issues featured and do not care. But what is this documentary about? It's about you. You are a commodity in the digital age. Your personal information and buying habits are more valuable than you. And though the premise are ideas I already know and content with on the regular, to some, the first 10 minutes alone could be revelatory. Go deep enough and politics are body horror. You are the biggest commodity on earth. This documentary isn't just trying to scare the shit out of me though. It actually encouraged me to look introspectively at myself. People did this. Networks and algorithms just serve their purpose. Yeah, don't get it twisted, this documentary is not as technophobic as it looks. When your democracy is at stake, it gets personal. This film's presentation is unrivaled. Whenever you meet a contributor, you visualize them as pixels. You first are introduced to Brittany Kaiser's biography as intrusive Facebook posts. Eagle eyes view on the heart of my very paranoid phobia. As you can likely tell, this remains a sore subject for me, and despite an unbiased and pretty balanced profile on Kaiser, she absolutely remains the villain of the piece. The people wrecking the world digitally are incredibly vocal about their achievements, and maybe we should start listening. And then there was Booksmart. It's a movie about side characters. The amazingly nuanced cast and every single actor bringing their A-game are played so genuinely, I feel like I go to this school. Everyone was given free rein with their bizarro characters and creative choices, and somehow, even through this cast of decade-defining comedy performances and show-stealing moments, Billy Lord manages to stand out. Give this exact cast another production. Give him a sequel. I just do not want to leave Gigi in this school of humans beyond stereotype. And it's not only masterfully crafted, but also acted to a point that brought me to tears, making it one of the few films this year to do so. It was also one of Obama's favourite films of the year, which at this point is more of a distinction than the goddamn Oscars, who are just as off the ball as ever in snubbing this beautiful comedy film. Number 3. I'm the Joker, baby! Joker was just a surprisingly phenomenal film that the internet, the American media, and the film's own director seemed determined to ruin for you. I felt like I was losing my mind this year. How could every single take be so hot trash? Hot trash takes from every critic I admire. Just bad faith describing a movie that was not on screen. Consumed in the conversation around said film rather than the text itself. I sat in the cinema ready to tear this a new one, and I just had to admit to myself fairly early on that this was just a high caliber piece of work. And I grinned myself to death for the next 50 minutes. Did people make up their own minds before seeing Joker? Or maybe have made an overnight change into a lone wolf Fight Club incel? The Twitter Council shall decide your fate. I did laugh when Arthur actually said society, but Joker is just the right amount of on the nose. The biggest crime of this movie at all is having to be tied in with the Batman franchise. Imagine if this was just called Arthur or Funny Man, and then like 25 minutes in we're like, sorry, did he say Gotham? Like Batman Gotham? That would have been a legendary reveal. And yet it's that comic book aspect that's just holding a lot of people back. What kind of off-the-ball cynicism is required to make you think this is just another supervillain origin story? Yeah, Mr. Freeze is about to jump into the frame. And that's why I want to stress, this film is not about the Joker. The Joker is the name of a sad, depressive, downward spiral of a man named Arthur. And I'm sorry, I loved Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur. Hey, ever notice how Arthur's nervous laughing tick only goes off when he sees other nervous people being pushed down by society? Funny that. Comedy that punches down is not humour. It is bullying and a tool of suppression. But hey, you wouldn't get it. When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Movie Bob? And hey, if you really can't tell the difference between this and standard superhero fare, put this on with a double feature of Batman Begins and then this, and you'll become pretty damn clear. Psst, it's about class disparity. This Joker says, "Eat the rich, Batman." I learned my lesson this year on many accounts. Watchmen, The Boys, It. I can't let film people on social media inform me. I've got to actually see it, make up my own mind, and enjoy it if I get proven wrong. I mean, that is the goal, and Twitter has had a constant egg on its face year round. That said, the idea of a sequel does piss me off. Joker 2, Joker's big day out, does completely invalidate all of this going for me. It makes it feel like Warner Bros. Are still just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. The quickest way to invalidate this entire movie is have the Joker doing Joker crimes with his Joker gang, and then doing fisticuffs with the Batman. If/when that happens, you have full license to remove this movie from my video. Number 2. Parasite is one of the greatest movies made this decade. Both in my own list, and in an objective sense. It's also one of those gems that I can't tell you anything about in fear of lessening your experience. Which is unfortunate for videos like this, but we are at the 27-minute mark. Instead, I'll leave you with this quote from director Bong Joon-ho. "In my films, you really see the people on the bottom rungs. Normal human beings in conditions in which they can no longer act human, in situations where they become treated like ghosts. When I first created the film, I felt it was a very Korean story full of Korean nuances and context. I'm coming to realise that wasn't the case, as this systemic poverty theme has just resonated all over the globe. We all live in one country named capitalism. If there's one film I want you to see this year, it's that one." And number 1, a weird pick, yeah, sure, but go with me. It's Guava Island, a 55-minute narrative music video brought to us by Hiro Murai, a Japanese-American filmmaker responsible for Atlanta, This Is America, and many other music videos. And that's a media form I've always had a lot of fascination with. My dream job probably is making them. When I listen to music, all I can visualize are images and camera angles. I didn't really see anyone take to this movie because I'm not sure anyone knows what to make of it. But its length, its simplicity and infectious likability, Hiro Murai is quickly becoming a director I'm riding on a wave somewhere between adoration and jealousy. It's universal and compact enough to fit into a simple bedtime story, but with the intellectual themes and the nuance of a film 3 times its length. At this point, I'm in the long haul with Glover, who's simply too talented and charismatic to miss out on. But it's Murai whose career I'm really watching now. I'm struggling to define this film even now. I guess it's like an intelligent jukebox musical that actually manages to recontextualize the original meanings of Glover's songs. Even the title of This Is America means something completely different in this Cuban-African setting. It's not a visual album, and it's not an elongated music video. Hell, it premiered at Coachella, but whatever it is, I want more of it. Star power only exists these days really for musicians. All that personality, character and attitude, I want that to be used as an IP. I want more artists to explore this kind of movie, ones with stage presence. The triple threats who can actually act in front of a camera. Because at the minute, many of them are. Melanie Martinez tried something similar this year with K-12, which didn't get the same sort of results to me, but that's fine. I'm not a Martinez fan, I still appreciate the craft. While performers like Rihanna, Lizzo have been popping up in movies non-stop in the last few years anyway, I'm just saying put them to better use. We know that everyone from the Katy Perrys to the Freddie Mercurys to the Elton Johns to the One Directions get people in cinema seats. Yeah, it's pretty wild conjecture, and Childish Gambino is still more on the independent, arty side of the spectrum. Has Mariah mastered his craft in the early years of his career? Probably no. Should Rihanna have gotten a song in this musical film? Probably yes, but my god, I fell head over heels in love with this thing. So this year, my top 3, not only is protest art alive and well, not only does true cinema, pure good storytelling still exist, but my number 1 goes towards the future, what this medium still can hold in store.